I know as a kid, I used to, and that was back in the war years, my uncle and I, we used to stand out along the road and hitchhike. We'd go to the movies 8 miles away. And we'd go at least twice a week to see, and especially the Western films. Gene Autry and Roy Rogers, those are our heroes.
Well, in the 40s, the price was a hell of a lot different than what it is today. I was in the Marine Corps from 42 to 46, and I used to be on LaSalle Street in Berwick, and the Temple Theater was only about a half a block away from me. And we used to pay a quarter to get into the movies. And sometimes we'd try to sneak in, because they'd leave the exit doors, would have to be left unguarded, and you could probably work yourself in there, and if you knew somebody inside, they would let you in. But that was then, and again today, the price has changed.
And that's not all that has changed since these two were kids.
I would say back then, number one, we didn't have a rating system. I don't think we needed it. Hollywood made films as if everybody had the mind of a 12-year-old. So, and today it's very different. You have films that are made for the young people, for toddlers, for teenagers, for the older people. So that was one of the big differences. And I guess it all came about with the rating system, that there was a guide to tell parents what type of film this is going to be.
Movies, as most know, are very expensive to produce. But what you may not know is that local theater owners make very little money by showing them.
The motion pictures themselves are very expensive. Well, number one, to produce. If you remember when Avatar was here at Christmas, that was a $300 million production. And generally today, most of your films run, I would say, 100 million or better. Plus they have to figure about 14 to 20 million on marketing. So it is a very, very expensive situation. A lot of the pictures that we have, we only have like 30% of the ticket cost. And of course, some tickets vary, some problems. We negotiate every film. Everyone's a little bit different.
Therefore, concessions, the popcorn, candy, and soda, is where theater owners make most of their money. That is why at most theaters, the popcorn costs a lot more than it does to make at home. The sale of concessions is also why most theaters frown on you bringing in your own snacks. And then you have places like the Berwick Movie Theater, which in the business is considered a discount theater.
In my operation that I'm doing whatever I have to do, I get a movie after it's out maybe 2 weeks or whatever, because I'm considered a discount theater, because my price is $4. But then I give the advantage to the public in regards to my candy department. I put a lollipop out for 25 cents. Then I go into popcorn, $1 popcorn, up to $3.50. And then I go into the soda on the same situation, $1 soda and up to $3. And otherwise, most places must put a limit on whatever. They don't start like I do at $1. So therefore, I am trying to keep traffic in my theater, because some theaters have 8 different movies in their complex, where I'm a single screen, and I run a movie possibly 1 week, and sometimes I'm forced to run it 2 weeks. And my percentage is how they determine my price per head. And therefore, I've modernized my sound system, and I've modernized the lens, but again, they have come out with new equipment, and the equipment today to try to put it together has cost over $100,000. But yet, my screen and my pictures are still beautiful.
But as Vince said, keeping up with the technology of showing films is very expensive for the single-screen owner. It's also tough for multiplex owners.
Oh, projection, it really has changed today. We're just getting into it here in Bloomsburg. But this digital projection, it's it's hard for me after all these years to see film going down through a projector. Today, there's no film. Today it's done on a hard drive and it's downloaded into this special projector we have, which, by the way, they're very, very expensive, well over $100,000 per piece. And but we feel there's been a lot of improvements on it. It's really sharp. And this way you no longer have scratched film. Every film is going to be sharp and pristine, just like the first one. Every time it's played, there won't be wear and tear and scratches and things like that. It's going to be sharp and clean. I think eventually, here we still use film, but before too long, I'm hoping maybe we'll have digital projectors every place. And a big factor is the shipping of a 35 millimeter film. You're looking at about 50 to 60 pounds of 35 millimeter film in each film you have, each feature. Consequently, you have a big truck that comes in here, unloads film, and it's very expensive to ship that film. It comes all the way from California by air into Ohio, then it gets on trucks from that point. So that will eventually just disappear with digital.
One solution to the hard drive issue may be to beam movies into theaters via satellite.
That's very possible, yes. They think it will come through the satellite, and that way we'll have dishes on top of our roofs, and there'll be a lot of other things we can work with, not only Hollywood productions, but now we're talking about maybe having the Metropolitan Opera on a Saturday afternoon at 2 o'clock when it's done live in New York. We could have it here in our screens here in Bloomsburg. And there's a lot of other little things. We've noticed that they've been playing around with sports activities like football. And there'll be a lot of other things that we can be doing, I believe, with the digital. It's so much easier. And yet, I'm glad I'm around to see it. At my age, I'm glad we're here to see it.
And while Marv ponders the future of showing movies in his theaters, Vince worries about keeping his doors open.
Well, the problem with my theater is the heat. Now, I have a store which is next door to the theater. And between the two, my heat bill in the theater itself is anywhere from, well, considering my store next door and my theater itself, it averages out close to $3,000 a month in the winter months. Now, the public has been very considerate in trying to keep me going. I put a little jar out for donations, and I'm getting in a month's time, I get maybe 100 or 200 or whatever out of that. And some places have actually donated me a large amount. But that has not continued because they can only give you so much. And I'm trying to keep the price down. And at the same time, I do get, this is more like a family-oriented theater. If I get R-rated, it's mostly the adults. But otherwise, the most I could come up with is on a good movie per night. The most I could come up with is 100 and some people. But it's a 600-seat theater, or 585. And it's not as lucrative as well as it should be, because they want other movies to, when they come in, what are you showing tonight? Well, I'm a single theater. I can only show one movie a night. I tried matinees, it doesn't work out. So I keep it going, one movie a night, and I work from there.
Both places are obligated to run movies at specific times, and at the Cinema Center, studios have even gone as far as to demand a movie be shown in a specific theater. That means, even if nobody shows up, the film must still run.
I always said I have the best job in the world. I enjoy what I'm doing. And a lot of people my age would have retired a long time ago. And I said, I'm not ready to retire. I don't want to retire. I enjoy being out with the people and looking at a film, and I'm thinking, who's going to buy this? Will it sell, or is it going to be a dud in the market? Someone said it's like playing the racehorses every night.
And I'm doing whatever I can, and I'm sure the people and the community does appreciate what I'm doing.